I wanted to take one other quick video. This might be applicable to people who buy their first airplane, and who are not rich. I'm certainly not rich. I'm well enough to be able to buy, a simple, fairly old airplane. This airplane for the most part seems to be in good shape, but I tend to be very, very anal and I'm reasonable about it, but I do tend to be a little bit anal. And so I look at this airplane, and as much as I love it, as much as I respect what it does do, it runs well, it flies well, it's safe, seems like a nice little bird. But whenever I just look around at this thing, I can't find very many places on this airplane where there is not something that I want to do. If that makes sense. Like, if you just look here, I mean, like that. Like, that's just old. Look at how nasty this looks, and that old radio, and the tops of this, and this is what happens with an airplane. Like, look at this. This is what happens when an airplane's 45 years old. I mean, this thing's got 5,276 hours on it. I look at these, and they look okay, but those lenses probably could stand to be replaced. There's a little smudge here. And like I said, I'm reasonable. I mean, a lot of that stuff's probably still going to be there in 3 or 4 years. I mean, I can't solve everything, nor do I even frankly need to. If I go flying and having a good time, I'm okay with that. I mean, it is truly a 45-year-old airplane at this point. So she's been around. But just little things. I mean, everywhere you look, there's just little things that could all be, fixed. Like this thing here, it doesn't hang right. That one over there doesn't even clip on. Like, there's a clip there, but you can push that over the clip. It doesn't even clip on. It's just got all that kind of stuff in it, and it's not unreasonable. I mean, look at that armrest there. It's not unreasonable to expect that kind of thing when you buy it. I mean, this airplane had 3,000 hours on it before I was even born. So I'm sitting in here now as a 37-year-old guy, and I'm looking at this plane, and I mean, you could have put me in this seat as an infant. You could have laid my little infant ass right there, suckling around looking for my mom. And this thing already had 3,000 hours on it. You know what I'm saying? Who knows how many pilots had learned to fly, because this thing was in a flight school for the first 7 years of its life. Who knows how many pilots had learned how to fly in this thing and took their check ride in this very seat. I mean, it literally could have been 50 students. There may have been 50 students, and how many FAA examiners that are probably dead now that sat in that seat. I mean, I'm not trying to be, glum. I'm just saying that's the fact. That's what happens. That's general aviation today. You got a lot of these old airplanes flying around, and they're like those songs, oldies but goodies. And that's the way this thing is. But I do find it very interesting to just look around at history. I mean, this airplane is used. Very, very used. I mean, look at all that. It's just finger crap, but I can clean that all up. You look back here. See that gasket hanging down the bottom? There's a crack right there. Like, all this is on my do list to get this airplane the way I want it. But instead of me thinking of it as, oh, it's not how I want it, I sort of think of it as, it's a great little frickin' plane that has a long list of things. Some of them need to be done. A lot of them I just want to do. Like, I could probably fly for the next 30 years and never do anything about this, and it probably won't be a problem. But it's a problem to me, and I don't lose sleep at night or anything, but it's on my list. It's a deep dive item. It's way down the list, but it's on my list, and I wouldn't be surprised if sometime in the next 5 years I actually pull this whole thing out and fix it and get it all repainted and get a new gasket and get a new decal and just make this thing look nice. Just little things. You can see those little pieces missing. it's just interesting to consider that. And all the while, I go flying around and enjoy myself, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. I'm not going to rob myself of the happiness, you know, by any means. But when you consider, like I said before, just how old this airplane is and the history here that literally predates my own existence, you know, and I finally had to go and learn everything I learned and do everything I had to do to go from being a little infant to, you know, actually being able to afford this thing. I mean, I have to realize that, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. This thing's going to be, it's going to be fixed up little by little. I don't think there will ever come a time where I look at it and there's nothing that needs to be done. There's always little things, you know, and a lot of them fall under the want to category. Most of that stuff I showed you falls under the want to category. But, you know, there's aesthetic stuff. There's, like, this is my panel right now. And I'm still trying to decide exactly what I want to do in here. But as of right now, the only real problem I have in here right now is this radio will only receive. It won't transmit. This radio does both. So this is the one that I've been using as my main. And so normally you'd use this as your main, and this would be like your ATIS and AWAS getter, right? That's usually how people do it. But for me, I'm doing them the other way around, and that's fine. The only disadvantage to that is that this radio doesn't have a flip-flop. So like when I go from ground to tower, I gotta clunk, 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 clunk my way instead of just going toot-toot and getting it. So, but you know, the newest thing in here, of course, is this. And but besides that, everything works. This thing precesses a little. This thing has had a few moments of weirdness. So at some point I'm probably going to either overhaul these, or I'm going to overhaul this and put a G5 up here. That is quite possible that I may put a G5 on the top and overhaul this, and that could be my upgrade for this year. I really want to get an autopilot. And I'm going to get an autopilot. And my autopilot controller I'm going to put right here. That's my current plan. But that's about $7,200, probably more like $8 when you factor reality into it. So it's about probably $8,000, whereas I could do the G5 and the overhaul of this installed for probably $4,000. So, but the G5 really wouldn't give me anything that this thing doesn't give me other than just snaz. So I'd still have to retain my vacuum pump as long as I had that. But at some point I could get rid of it, put a second G5 on the bottom, and then get rid of the vacuum pump, which would make that gauge go away. So I either put a placard over there, not a placard, but a cover, or I would put something there. I don't know what frankly would go there. But there's a lot of potential for this panel, but at the expense of a lot of money. And eventually I'd love to put, like, frankly, I really want a Garmin 650, but a Garmin 650 installed is probably $12,000. And by the time you do that and you do the autopilot, I mean, there's $20,000. I mean, the airplane's only worth probably 33 or so as it sits right now. So all things to consider. But even with this panel, even with the radio situation I talked about, which is on my list to fix, it's a good little panel. It gets the job done. It's VFR only. So I don't plan on flying IFR for a little while. But anyway, I digressed a little bit, but my point is just to say that this airplane is a work in progress, and I think it will always be. I think no matter what I do, or how old I get, or how long I keep it, there's always going to be projects of differing lengths and effort that can be done. Just whether it be just a little cosmetic thing, like I can probably take some chemicals and I could probably clean those fingerprints off. I could probably do that in about 20 minutes, and then there's that little project that's done. Or, maybe I could pull off these plastic pieces and either paint them, or maybe have Jesse, who's the avionics guy that I've been using, have him, he will do a metal overlay for about, I think it's about 750 bucks or something like that. I have to get a new quote. But he can replace all this plastic with metal, which would give it a nice modern look, and it would get rid of those smudges and you know, all that kind of stuff. I could repaint that armrest. Just little tiny little projects here and there that I can do to just keep this thing getting better and better. I think this airplane spent most of its life getting just a little worse and a little worse all the time, and I really want to change that, and I think I've done that ever since I bought it. But I really want to change that. Unlike a lot of airplanes that just get worse and worse and worse every year, just more chips, more paintness, and more dirt, more funk. You know, I kind of want this one to just get a little better and a little better. And when I look ahead to the future and I say, here's 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, whatever, I'm hoping that, you know, if you were to time lapse that stuff, so to speak, it would just get better and better and better and better and better, and really really show off just how much I love this little thing. So anyway, just wanted to share that. Mission accomplished. Here's me with what I came out to the hangar to do. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's raining. It's just a shitty day outside right now. It's IFR, it's 800-foot ceilings, 2-mile viz, and rain, so not a flying day. But I still wanted to have something to do with the plane, so I came out and tinkered around, and I'm about to head back home and enjoy the rest of my afternoon. So hope you enjoyed my little rant, and talk later.